Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're diving into a topic that's about as much fun as a surprise colonoscopy: how to interact with police officers. Look, I know, it's not exactly lighthearted fare. We could be talking about the delightful absurdity of sea cucumbers or the existential dread of realizing you've just used your roommate's fancy shampoo. But the truth is, understanding how to navigate an encounter with law enforcement, whether it's a routine traffic stop or something more serious, is crucial. It's kind of like knowing how to change a tire. You might not need it every day, but when you do, you'll be bloody thankful you paid attention. So, buckle up as we unpack 15 essential tips that can make all the difference in ensuring your interaction with the police is as smooth, safe, and dare I say, uneventful as possible. Let's get started, shall we? Alright, first things first, channel your inner sloth. No, seriously, hear me out. When interacting with police, staying calm is absolutely paramount. It's like that old adage about catching more flies with honey than vinegar. Except in this case, the flies are metaphorical justice and the vinegar is your unbridled panic. Look, I get it. Having a police officer approach you can be nerve-wracking. Your heart starts racing, your palms sweat, and suddenly you're questioning every decision you've ever made, like, was that parking ticket I ignored in college really worth it? Spoiler alert, it probably wasn't. But here's the thing, freaking out helps absolutely no one, least of all you. In fact, it can escalate the situation faster than a squirrel on 6 espressos. Police officers are trained to assess situations quickly, and any sudden movements or signs of aggression can be misinterpreted. So take a deep breath, count to 10, and remember, you've got this. Think of it like this, you're playing a high-stakes game of poker, and the only winning move is to maintain a cool, collected demeanor. No throwing cards, no dramatic sighs, just a calm, steady gaze that says, I'm not hiding any aces up my sleeve, probably. Keeping your cool allows you to think clearly, articulate your thoughts, and assert your rights effectively. It also helps the officer perceive you as cooperative and non-threatening, which can lead to a more favorable outcome. Remember, staying calm isn't about surrendering your rights. It's about creating a space for clear communication and mutual understanding. And hey, if all else fails, just picture everyone in their underwear. It might not make the situation less stressful, but at least you'll have a funny story for later. Now, on to our next point, knowing your rights. This isn't just some abstract legal mumbo-jumbo, it's about empowering yourself with the knowledge to navigate a police interaction confidently and safely. Think of it as your legal toolkit. You might not need every tool for every job, but knowing what's in your arsenal is crucial. First and foremost, remember the Fifth Amendment, your right to remain silent. You are not obligated to answer any questions beyond providing basic identification. If you feel uncomfortable or pressured, politely and firmly state that you wish to remain silent and would like to speak to an attorney. Next up, the Fourth Amendment, your protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. This means you have the right to refuse a search of your person, vehicle, or property, unless the officer has a warrant or probable cause. Again, be polite but firm when asserting this right. Now let's talk about consent. Just because an officer asks you a question doesn't mean you're obligated to answer. Similarly, just because they ask to search your belongings doesn't mean they can. Consent must be freely and voluntarily given, and you have the right to withdraw consent at any time. Think of it like this. You wouldn't invite a stranger into your home without knowing who they are or what they want, right? The same principle applies to police interactions. You have the right to ask questions, clarify the situation, and understand the basis for any requests made by the officer. Now I know what you might be thinking, but smart. Won't refusing to answer questions or consent to a search make me look suspicious? And to that I say, no more suspicious than a clown at a funeral. Look, asserting your rights is not about being difficult or evasive. It's about protecting yourself and ensuring that any interaction with law enforcement is conducted fairly and within the bounds of the law. Remember, knowledge is power. Familiarize yourself with your rights, understand the limits of police authority, and don't be afraid to politely and firmly assert them when necessary. Alright, let's talk about something that seems obvious but often gets lost in the shuffle: being polite. Now, I'm not saying you need to break out the tea and biscuits, but a little courtesy can go a long way in de-escalating a potentially tense situation. Think of it like this. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, unless of course you're trying to catch a fly that's really into vinegar, in which case, you're probably overthinking this whole analogy. Look, I get it. Being polite to a police officer, especially if you feel you're being treated unfairly, might feel like the last thing you want to do. But trust me, a little respect can go a long way. Remember, police officers are just people doing their jobs, and like anyone else, they appreciate being treated with courtesy. Now, I'm not saying you need to be a pushover. You can be assertive without being aggressive. Address the officer as sir or ma'am, speak calmly and clearly, and avoid using inflammatory language or making threats. Remember, the goal is to de-escalate the situation, not turn it into a shouting match. Think of it like this: you're trying to defuse a bomb. You wouldn't start yanking wires and screaming obscenities, would you? Well, maybe you would, but that's why you're not a bomb disposal expert. You'd approach the situation with caution, precision, and a healthy dose of respect for the explosive power you're dealing with. Being polite and respectful doesn't mean you're admitting guilt or waiving your rights. It simply means you're choosing to engage in a way that promotes communication and understanding. Remember, a little bit of kindness can go a long way, even in the most stressful of situations. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room: resisting arrest. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, this is America, land of the free, home of the brave, where we have the right to resist tyranny. And to that I say, yes, you're absolutely right. But here's the catch. Resisting arrest is not the way to fight tyranny or a parking ticket or a noise complaint about your parrot. Look, I get it. Being arrested is a scary and disorienting experience. You might feel angry, violated, or just plain confused. But physically resisting arrest, even if you believe you're being unfairly detained, is never the answer. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It's only going to make things worse. Resisting arrest can lead to additional charges, some of which can be quite serious. It can also escalate the situation, putting both you and the officer at risk of injury. You have the right to verbally protest your arrest, state your belief that you're being detained unlawfully, and request legal counsel. But do it calmly, clearly, and without resorting to physical force. Remember, resisting arrest doesn't solve anything. It only escalates the situation and makes it much harder to fight any potential injustices later on. So, keep your cool, assert your rights verbally, and let the legal system do its job. And finally, we arrive at the age of smartphones and viral videos, recording the interaction. Now, this isn't about becoming the next YouTube sensation or catching a police officer doing something embarrassing on camera, though, let's be honest, the internet would eat that up. This is about protecting yourself and ensuring transparency. In an era where everyone has a high-definition camera in their pocket, documenting your interaction with law enforcement can be a crucial way to safeguard your rights and provide evidence should any discrepancies arise later on. Think of it like this. It's like having a backup copy of your most important files, except instead of spreadsheets and cat photos, you're preserving a record of your encounter with the long arm of the law. Now, before you whip out your phone and start filming like you're making a citizen journalism masterpiece, there are a few things to keep in mind. First and foremost, be respectful. Don't shove your phone in the officer's face or make them feel threatened. Remember, you're documenting the interaction, not directing a Michael Bay film. Secondly, be aware of your surroundings. If you're in a potentially dangerous situation, prioritize your safety over getting the perfect shot. And lastly, be mindful of any instructions from the officer. If they ask you to step back or stop filming for safety reasons, comply with their requests. Recording the interaction isn't about antagonizing the police. It's about creating a record of events that can be used to protect your rights and ensure accountability. It's about ensuring that both sides of the story are heard and that any potential misconduct is brought to light. So the next time you find yourself interacting with law enforcement, remember, your phone can be a powerful tool for justice. Use it wisely, use it respectfully, and use it to protect yourself. So, there you have it, folks. A crash course in navigating the sometimes murky waters of police interactions. Remember, these tips are not about helping you get away with something or avoid the consequences of your actions. They're about empowering you to interact with law enforcement confidently, safely, and within the bounds of your rights. It's about understanding that you have a voice, you have agency, and you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, even in the face of authority. It's about knowing that knowledge is power, and understanding your rights is the first step towards protecting them. So stay informed, stay aware, and most importantly, stay safe. And if you ever find yourself facing a situation that makes you uncomfortable or unsure, remember, you have the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, and the right to be treated with respect. And if all else fails, just start singing Celine Dion at the top of your lungs. It might not get you out of trouble, but it'll definitely make things more interesting.